Welcome back, everyone, to the final game of the final match in the Pokemon TCG Regional Championships in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm Josue, Crimz Rojano, and with me is Kyle Pooka Sucevich, and we are watching Dylan Bryan take on Michael Skoran.
Yeah, can't emphasize enough how this is the final game of the final match of Philadelphia Regionals. So everything is on the line in this game. The winner will win a fully paid trip to U.S. Nationals for their entire stay. That means a flight, that means a hotel room, and they'll get the championship points. And both players actually got 2 buys at Nationals already. The finalists do, but ouch. Big Juniper on the first turn for Michael.
That gets rid of one Junk Arm, two double colorless energies, and a Zekrom and a Lightning.
That's a lot of stuff, whatever it was.
Yeah, well, we see a Thunderous with a Lightning energy, which is actually great for Michael because at least it lets him have a turn one charge, which is incredible. And he plays a Pokemon catcher on his opponent's Tornadus, which is going to make his Celebi a little bit worse, obviously, because now it's going to be a lot harder for him to Force Breath on turn one.
Yeah, now that Juniper was really, really bad. I mean, he had to get rid of a Junk Arm and 2 double colorless. It's not the worst thing in the world, though. He'll be able to recover just fine, and he'll actually be able to put on a lot of pressure here from the get-go with Thunderous. This is your best start. Thunderous can knock out Celebes and Tornaduses all day, and it's really going to make it easier for him to stop Dylan's early pressure.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the fact that he got a turn one charge is also going to be a very big deal because it's going to force his opponent to kind of find an alternate attack route because now the Tornadus is not going to be very effective anymore.
Right. As we see, he did bench Regigigas EX, so maybe that's the route he wants to go with. I mean, either way, he's going to have a lot of resources just to get an attack off this turn. Maybe the
Yeah.
simplest way would just be attacking with Mewtwo, but that hand does not look like it's built for attacking on this first turn.
And I know I've said this since the top eight, but I can't stress just how strange it is to me to see Dylan play his Mewtwo's so easily and so like I guess nonchalantly at the first opportunity he gets. He's very liberal with that play compared to pretty much a lot of other Pokemon players, which who have that the mentality of you know what I'm gonna hold this card in my hand as long as I possibly can because I don't want to open up any opportunities for my opponent to take a big prize lead.
Yeah, I think in this matchup, it's not as bad because, well, you know eventually you're going to have to attack with Mewtwo because Tornadus is really bad against Thundurus and Zekrom.
Well, how about
And
this one? All right, how about that play? He decides to activate his Mewtwo and just pass.
that one I'm confused about. But in general, Mewtwo is actually kind of strong early on against Zekrom Eelektrik because it can knock out Tynamos, and it can be tough for the Zekrom Eelektrik player to respond quickly. Usually, it's even stronger if the player uses Eviolite on the Mewtwo, but I don't think Dylan plays any, so yeah, promoting this Mewtwo is really puzzling me because at the very least, Michael's going to hit it for 80, and then he doesn't even need to use a Mewtwo to finish up and knock it out. And yeah, what do you think was the logic behind that?
I couldn't find it. I, I'm still not keen on even benching the Mewtwo in the first place, even though you did give a couple of good reasons for why the Mewtwo would be relatively effective. I just know that the last thing I want to do is have the game degenerate into a Mewtwo war early on when my opponent has Electrics in play and can respond a lot more easily than I can. Um, I'm just not keen on playing the Mewtwo period as until I absolutely need to, and he didn't need to in this case. And even at benching, or not only just benching the Mewtwo, but now activating it, just kind of put him in a spot where he's saying, "Hey, look, I'm willing to give up a couple of prizes early on." And his hand was just not that poor, in my opinion, to force him into doing this.
Yeah, definitely a risky play at the very least. So Mewtwo always is a high risk, high reward card. He has a very small window to make it worth using him, and in this situation, using him as a wall, not really a good use for him.
Now, how did you like this play by Michael, where he Pokemon captured up the Regigigas before it had any energy and playing Delta 80 to it?
I don't mind this just because Regigigas has an absurd 4 retreat cost. So it's going to force Dylan to have a switch. If he doesn't, Michael's just going to retreat, use Bolt Strike, and take 2 prizes right off the bat. And as a CMT player, there is almost no way to come back from that. If you're down 2 prizes to the Zekrom Eelektrik deck, that is one uphill battle that, I mean, the only way you're going to win is if you play an N and your opponent draws nothing. So I like this. It really puts a lot of pressure on Dylan to have a switch. If he doesn't, I think Michael's just going to take a lead that's going to win him the game.
So it's pretty safe to say that Michael's got a pretty big advantage right now, considering the fact that he got a turn 2 Eelektrik and got the first hit on the opponent's Regigigas.
Yeah, he has a huge advantage because, number one, he got a big hit on that Regigigas. Softening it up, that's going to be 2 prizes whenever he decides to finish it off. And number 2, he's got nothing on his field for Dylan to even knock out this turn. So Dylan, almost for sure, will be behind. And as a CMT deck, you always want to be the one to take the first prize, hopefully the first 2 prizes in this matchup. Otherwise, you're just going to get overrun.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And now he's going to be playing a Pokemon catcher on his opponent's Eelektrik. I'm not sure if he can actually get a knockout this turn. Matter of fact, I really doubt it.
He can't attack.
He decides to pass. So Dylan's in real rough shape, and it's obvious. And it's unfortunate, too, because the first couple of matches were led us to believe that Game 3 should have been epic. But at least as of right now, it looks like Michael's going to be running away with this.
Yeah, it all depends on whether or not he has a switch, or even double colorless would probably be good here. He'll be able to Disaster Bolt in that case. But if he has a switch, that's going to be horrible for Dylan. So basically, Dylan is like, all right, you're going to catch her up, my big retreat guy. I'm just going to do the same to you. Hope that you don't have the switch either.
I mean, even if he doesn't have a switch, all he needs really is a double colorless energy, and he'll be able to retreat.
Yeah, he won't be able to get a knockout yet, though. It's only 2 energy on Zekrom, but yeah, if he gets... Hey, look, a switch.
Yeah, that switch is huge. Granted, he was probably going to be in pretty good shape regardless of what he did this turn, but the fact that he got to be able to switch, and now ideally he'll be able to attach an energy after his end and take the first couple of prizes, which should put him in a commanding lead and pretty much almost guarantee this game for him.
Yeah, if he draws an energy here, he will take the first 2 prizes. Regigigas is an EX, and Dylan's going to have to attack with Mewtwo, and he's just going to be in a really ugly spot.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that not only will he force his opponent into... not only will he take the first couple of prizes, but he's going to force his opponent into attacking with the Mewtwo, which can easily be killed for another 2 prizes. So before you know it, Michael can actually be down to 2 prizes at the end of his following turn, ideally.
Yeah, he sure could. And he does get the energy, so this will be turn 3. He's knocking out that Regigigas, taking 2 prizes. And if you're Dylan, you're probably not liking your odds here.
Yeah, your Regigigas is what you really want to use as a main attacker in the middle of the game. And the fact that it just got knocked out before you could even do anything is just really disheartening.
Yeah, now... His other option this turn is to attack with Bouffalant if he has that option. Otherwise, maybe he could try to get lucky, get Tyrogue, catch her out of Tynamo, and stay asleep. That's one way to go about it. But odds are he's just going to have to attack with Mewtwo this turn and hope that Michael doesn't have a response.
Yeah, and he's finding another Mewtwo with his Dual Ball, which just means that he's preparing for a Mewtwo War.
Yeah.
And I would have liked to see him try to avoid that at all costs, but I mean, I'm sure he just can't.
Yeah, he realizes, all right, I'm probably going to have to attack with Mewtwo, and then if I do that, well, I'm going to need another Mewtwo, because anytime a Mewtwo comes out, there's another Mewtwo that comes out, and we're just in a world of Mewtwo's, so might as well get the upper hand while I can.
Yeah. I don't really see him actually winning this Mewtwo War, no matter what, unless his opponent just literally has no Mewtwo's in play.
And that could happen. There could be just no Mewtwo or way to get it in hand for Michael. Even if he gets a Dual Ball, he can always get 2 Tails. So there's still slim hopes for Dylan to win this game. But if Michael can access his Mewtwo's, then he'll definitely win this game.
That's correct. So Dylan's taking his time here. He's trying to find another way out, I'm sure. But I'm sure he's going to come to the same conclusion that we have, which is just, not much of a choice here. I fell too far behind. Got to try to get lucky because there's no other way I'm going to win this game.
Yeah, but if I'm Dylan here, I might actually try to catch her out of Dynamo if I can, instead of knocking out the Zekrom, because Michael has no lightning in his discard pile. It's actually something we've seen happen a couple times now, where he leaves himself with no lightning in the discard pile. So that'll make it a lot tougher for Michael to follow up with a Mewtwo, just because on that first turn, if you'll remember, he discarded 2 double colorless, and that's going to be what he needs to respond.
Yeah, it's actually a really good point. He did discard 2 double colorless energy on the first turn with that brutal Juniper, which so far hasn't actually come back to bite him in the butt. But
Yeah,
you never know.
but it looks like Dylan went ahead and knocked out the active Zekrom, so there will be plenty of lightning in the discard pile if Michael decides to go the Mewtwo route. And he will, I mean, he's got everything probably in his hand. He's got a lot of cards, a lot of options, and he's actually going to decide just to attack with normal attackers, doesn't want to risk it getting into a Mewtwo war. He wants his opponent to take one prize at a time, and then maybe he'll just finish up with Mewtwo.
Yeah, it must be nice to be this Zekrom Eelektrik player to actually have that option. The fact that your attackers are just so good and they match up so well against Tornadus just makes it so that the Zekrom Eelektrik player has so many options, and you're seeing Michael exercise one of them right now. You see a switch off of Michael into a Tyrogue just so that he can actually attach the energy with the Dynamotor. So he's got to be running a little low on energy in hand at least.
Yeah, this
But
is
I would
actually
like to see it.
a strange decision for me benching the Tyrogue, because he had 2 free retreat Dynamos there. I don't know why he did that. And there's actually a Mewtwo in his discard pile, but he's fortunate enough to have the Super Rod, so that was also part of his Juniper on the first turn. But he was fortunate enough to shuffle it back in.
Yeah, you made a great point in that there was no need to bench the Tyrogue because it filled up his bench. So
Yeah.
filling up your bench is actually pretty suboptimal here because you really only have one attacker right now. You have a Tyrogue which doesn't really attack, and you have three Dynamos in a way, and a Smeargle.
Yeah, I'll actually go further. I don't think it was just suboptimal. That was probably one of the worst things you could have done. Benching that Tyrogue doesn't really give you anything, and it limits you, and actually makes Dylan have a better shot at this game, because you're only going to be able to have one attacker in play the entire rest of the game. You just have that Thunderous. You can't bench anything in advance, which means you can't Dynamotor to it in advance. You can't prepare for stuff like N. But he plays 2+ powers, so maybe he'll get a third one and catch her out of Celebi and Mischievous Punch.
Yeah, now it all makes sense. That's why I played the Tyrogue.
No, I guess not.
Okay, so we see 100 damage attack from Disaster Volt from Thunderous, and he unceremoniously takes out that Smeargle, and he takes a 2-prize lead, while only giving his opponent the option to take 1 prize at a time.
Yeah, now Michael's bench is really, really bad. He's got Smeargle, 2 Dynamos, Eelektrik, and Tyrogue. Really, if you're Dylan, you want to attack the active for knockouts. You don't want to be getting fancy. Just, you want a best case scenario, you have an N, and you knock out the active Thunderous. But it looks like he will not take my advice.
Yeah,
Probably
not
didn't
really
have
sure.
anything in his hand.
Yeah, I was gonna say he probably just didn't have the energy, because he still needed 30 more damage, so just probably didn't have the resources to kill the Thunderous.
Right. And even if he did, with Michael having such a big hand, he probably didn't want to attach extra energy to his Mewtwo for no reason.
Now look at them being stoic and taking their time, not making too many plays too suddenly. And we see Michael draw lightning energy. Then he plays his dual ball, gets 1 heads here, so that's gonna obviously get him his next attacker. And we'll have to see what he does here. So he gets a Mewtwo. So now is he willing to degenerate into a Mewtwo war?
If he
He
does,
gets 2 heads.
it's going to be extremely risky. I never like going down to 1 prize just because that N to 1 card is so extremely devastating. You always want to avoid it whenever you can, but looks like he's just going to be fine going for a Mewtwo trade here. To go down to 1 prize, Dylan will be at 4. But if Dylan has an N and a way to knock out Michael's Mewtwo, ooh, that could be big.
But see, here's another problem with benching the Tyrogue. He benched the Tyrogue, but now he didn't give himself the option to bench both Mewtwo's and kind of make himself a little bit less vulnerable to the end.
Yeah.
Because with an Eelektrik in play and 2 Mewtwo's in play, then he's really kind of setting himself up to be able to get around the end, even if his opponent did play it. But only having one Mewtwo in play absolutely leaves you vulnerable to this card because your opponent can easily return KO your Mewtwo and then on the same turn, forcing you to not only have the Mewtwo but have a way to get the energies on it.
Yeah, it's funny how one little bench Pokemon can absolutely change the entire outcome of the game, which is kind of what we're seeing here. We're seeing Dylan have a shot at this game where if Michael had, left that bench spot open, I think it would have pretty much been over. He would have been able to bench that other Mewtwo, and then Dylan can't do anything from there. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. We see Michael play a couple of level balls, just getting rid of a couple of insignificant cards in his deck, trying to help his top decks out a little bit, I'm sure. Now he plays an energy from his hand onto his Mewtwo and likely going to Dynamo it twice onto it, being able to knock out his opponent's attacking or his opponent's actual Mewtwo and put himself down to one prize.
All right, so this is a big turn for Dylan. I gotta think he needs to have an N here. Even if he plays the N, he's gonna go down to 4 cards himself. So, in a perfect world, he gets an N, he knocks out that Mewtwo, and Michael doesn't draw anything. However, he'll still only be at 2 prizes if he does manage to pull all this off, which means Michael has 2 turns to just knock out one Pokemon, and he'll win. Which means all he'll need is a Pokemon catcher, or a Mewtwo, or a laundry list of stuff, and he'll have Smeargle to portrait as well. And I don't like Dylan's odds, but it still could happen. He will grab the Shaman EX, which at this point does 180 damage, which knocks out anything. So it's going to be scary.
Yeah. Make no mistake about it. Dylan is still in really rough shape, even though his opponent made a couple of small errors or relatively large errors to get himself in this spot in the first place. But the fact that the Shaman EX can knock out any Pokemon that Michael can play, it's got to be pretty nice.
It looks like Dylan does not have that N. He doesn't even have the energy yet, so he's really just kind of hoping that Michael does not have one of many cards. And with such a big hand, if you're Dylan, you probably just resign to the fact that you don't have a shot at winning, but you're going to do what you can.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to do what you can here. And at least he's going to hope to be able to take a prize here, or take a couple of prizes here, yeah.
He's only got that 1 energy in his hand, it looks like, and that's not going to be enough.
Yeah, that's not going to be enough. If he can't take a prize this turn, then he's absolutely going to be out of this game.
He could go out with a bang and use Synthesis with Shaman EX, but he looks like he's going for the Mischievous Punch.
Wakes up, and Mischievous Punches unfortunately wakes up and loses this game. His opponent is able to knock out the Tyrogue with his Mewtwo on the following turn.
So that means Michael is your regional champion for Philadelphia. Congratulations to him. Zekrom Eelektrik manages to take down another tournament, and he must have gone through a very large field. Took out Dylan, who was one of the top 10 players in North America, and so is Michael, actually. So a good matchup between these two players, and once again, congratulations to both players. What a great tournament for both of them.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. So absolutely, Michael Skoran is your Philadelphia, Pennsylvania regional champion, and we didn't really get to see his trajectory very much, but we got to see Dylan's, and yeah, he had kind of a miracle story going into this, and unfortunately was stopped in second place, but he still gets a couple of buys, and he's still going to be at U.S. Nationals.
Yeah, pretty good day for both these guys. I don't think they'll be too upset. You always want to win, but second place, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Not when you have buys, anyways. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for watching. I was Crimz, and he was Pooka, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yep. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you later.